Okay, ready to let's make some dubbing here. I like to make my own dubbing. Personally, you know, we have a lot of packages of dubbing on the wall in a fly fishing store, and nothing's bad about any of that dubbing there if you use it. However, I'm just a little bit more selective than that myself personally. I like dubbing that looks really, really cool, and we're going to see how to make some dubbing that looks really, really cool. And in order to use it, in order to make it here, we need dubbing to make dubbing. And so, first of all, I want to show you my suggestions here as far as some things that you might need to make dubbing. First, of course, you need a coffee grinder. This coffee grinder, I would try to keep it as shallow as possible. This is just a little over an inch here, and this is a very small dome. The smaller the dome, the shallower the grinder, the easier your dubbing is going to be to quickly blend up and blend real nicely. So make sure you don't have one of those tall coffee blenders. Now what we need is, for base, let's start with the base material. Base material is sort of like paint. When you start with making some real unique colored paint, you usually start with a base, which is usually white. However, we don't usually start with white. We start with the closest base color to the actual thing that you have in your head as far as color that you want to imitate. And so some packages of Antron, hairline dubbing, SLF, which is a cool synthetic dubbing. These are all things you find on your shelf in your fly fishing store here in the Warren Bugger Fly Company. And we want some base stuff. We'll have a couple browns. We'll have a dark and a light brown. And I've got a gray for like your calabatus and making atoms, stuff like that. Then we have a couple of olives. One just a little bit lighter than the other. A couple of olives. And maybe throw in a yellow and a burnt orange. Those could be kind of handy too. And you can use the yellow sometimes to like say you want to lighten this up considerably. Really lightens up nice with the yellow. However, sometimes lightening up with yellow isn't what you want, because so what you do is you take a white maybe and lighten up that brown a little bit into a tan, or this lighter brown into a tan. But also maybe some black to darken up something if you have to darken it up. So if you have white and black and these base colors of a couple different browns, a couple different olives, and then a burnt orange and a yellow, that's going to cover almost all your bases there, and a gray. So now we have the base colors out of the way. Most of the base colors I use are synthetic, like Antron. Your Antrons are good, but and any kind of blend that's real solid in color will work as a base. Now we want to put a little bit of pizzazz into our dubbing, and so here I've selected 4 different types of ice dubbing. This ice dubbing would be used in small amounts, and you'll see exactly how that works here in a minute. It's going to be used in real small amounts in your dubbing, and it's really, really going to look cool. Here we have an olive for our olive-based dubbings, which are probably the most used color of dubbings. Then we have a dark brown and a light brown. This one's called Pheasant Tail, which is a dark brown, of course, as you can see. And this is a lighter brown. This just has enough lighter brown in it, too, that you can use it with your oranges, say like an October Caddis. You know, you take this base color here, and you can see that you can get your October Caddis colors real easy out of this lighter brown. So this would act as your light brown and your orange. And then we have your dark brown for all your real brown stuff, and then the olive for all the olive-based stuff. And you can use this in a yellow too, just briefly in a yellow, a little tiny bit in there, will come out too. And then of course we need something for our gray, and I selected a ice dubbing UV calabatus. I've tried this in the calabatus stuff, and this stuff looks really cool in a calabatus dubbing. And so this was kind of my favorite of all the calabatus colors that I've been making here recently, and so that's why I selected that one. So those are all your dubbings that you need. You probably have a lot of these dubbings already. If you do, your investment is very small there. The last thing you're going to need is some hare's masks or bunny faces. These are really cool, and I'll show you why here in a minute, but I would select here as for colors, we have an olive and a yellow, and of course the two together would make, it would make a light colored olive. Or you could darker yellow just by adding a little bit of this. So you can see how you can play with the colors there a little bit. But you got an olive and a yellow, and then a brown, a good solid brown, an orange, and a natural. Now these things cost $3.50. You're likely to get a couple hundred flies off each one of these. They're not very much money. They're real cheap, and obviously dyed. And so those are real cheap, and that dubbing's real cheap. In fact, this whole pile that I showed you here, all these colors of hare's masks, all these colors here of dubbing that we have, including the ice dubbing, and you put that all together and you probably come out in the neighborhood of about 40 bucks worth of stuff. And with this, with the blender, grinder, you might even come out for, say, 50 bucks. It's not very much money to invest in all your dubbing materials. Now I'm going to show you a little bit about each of those things that I've been telling you about. And I don't have to show you a whole lot about the base color that I use. Again, I use an ice Antron base color. Here's an ice Antron. This is the one. In fact, we'll make up some dubbing here in a minute, and this is the one I'll select for that. So I'm going to set it aside. Again, you just want it to be a good, solid, definite color, sort of like you were using it for a base for paint or something like that, as your base color. And then we have some ice dubbing. I get them in these dispensers here. It's a little easier, but you see all these different colors. I've got two of them, all these different colors that we can use to put a little pizzazz in there. Not much, we don't want to overdo it, but interesting little sparkle we can get in there. And then the real good stuff. Now this is your, let's see, let's look at this one. Looks pretty good. This is a light olive one here. You can see that it's got dark and light on it both. In other words, you see light olive in places, but you see sort of when it darkens up a little bit where you have these darker guard hairs. And that's so you can get some different shades out of here just by looking at the different shades that you get here. But also notice how you can get some long, really long soft stuff out here on the cheeks. You know how bunnies look on the cheeks there? That's for that nice soft long fibers out there. So if you want some longer, softer dubbing, that's where you get it. If not, you have all your big stuff sort of on the edges. I'll pull the cheeks around like this, about like that, and you can see how you have all this nice long stuff here that isn't quite as long and soft. It's starting to stiffen up just a little bit, but it never gets too stiff. So you have all this medium stuff right in here. And then when you get into the middle of the forehead, you have a bunch of really nice medium-sized stuff here that has a lot of guard hairs in it. The guard hairs are the ones that have the brown tips on the end, and they come to a real fine point at the end. Those are called guard hairs, and that's kind of cool to have guard hairs in your dubbing, so they kind of stick out of the fly here and there and give the fly life when it's kind of moving through the water. It looks real. It gives it kind of that moving, life, breathing type effect to it. And that's what we want, is we want our dubbing to be real buggy. And I'm still a firm believer that buggier flies get more attention from fish. And they look even buggier than the real bug. And if you can look buggier than the real bug, I think you're going to find that you catch more fish. And I've always thought that, and I still do. Now when you get up around the upper part of the forehead and the ears, now we get into some short stuff up here and on the back of the ears as well. There's some nice soft short stuff here, a little bit more bristly short stuff here. And if you were doing size 20 flies, you might want to select all your stuff from these upper ears up here. So you can see you can get a variety of colors, a variety of textures, and a variety of lengths of the fibers in every single hare's mask. And myself, I've got natural, I've got yellow, There are other colors available than the ones I've just showed you there. This is called a golden yellow. I use that a lot. Light olive, dark olive, and here we have a couple shades of brown. I think they go this way: light brown and a dark brown, and then what they call a golden brown, and then a burnt orange, and then an orange that my dog got a hold of, as you can see. He has a thing for orange rabbits. Then I've got your dun right there too for your gray stuff, and that pretty much covers all the hare's mask. But there are some other things I like to use. Here's some squirrel. This squirrel has some real nice long guard hairs in it. So if you want longer guard hairs, if they're too long for you, you can cut them short and just keep the guard hair portions of it, or you can go clear down to the skin here and get into some of this stuff. And some of this stuff has brown on the outside and gray on the bottom. So you can either separate the gray by only snipping off the brown stuff, or you can get brown and gray at the same time by getting right down to the skin. And that'd be really true of the next thing I'm going to show you here, which is muskrat. And as you may know, muskrat is the color that you're supposed to use for an Adams. But if you look at a muskrat like this, it doesn't look gray at all. But when you do cut it down to the skin, like you'll see here, if you cut it down to the skin and put it in the blender, it comes out gray, because everything under that brown is a true gray. You can see that maybe better by looking at that there. You see that stripe of gray across there. A really beautiful gray with nice little brown guard hairs sticking out of it. So this is again what you'd use on an Adams, nice gray. One more thing I'd like to talk about here though is the, by the way, on that squirrel also, they have a squirrel mask here too, a lot like the hare's mask. And these have a bunch of real fine, beautiful guard hairs in here, and I use these a lot. These are some of the best guard hairs you'll find anywhere. It's on a pine squirrel mask, so that's pretty cool. But I did want to talk a little bit about snowshoe rabbit. These are the hind feet of a snowshoe rabbit. This is the bottom part of the foot right here. If you can see this here, I'm pushing down a lot. There's a big pad here, and this pad is all hair, and this pad is not only cushy for the rabbit, it's kind of like having sneakers on, but it insulates them from both the cold ice and the snow, and also the wet stuff, so it's waterproof. This stuff, you can cut a piece of this off and put it in some water, a glass of water, and it'll float for a month. This stuff does not absorb water. It's very flotation oriented. So, you can see how crinkly this stuff is. You imagine how many thousands of times they step on that in the course of their lifetime. So it makes it very crinkly and unruly. It's kind of hard to work as a dubbing. You can work it as a dubbing, but it makes everything look kind of crinkly on the hook. So you either have to put up with that or use the edges, and this is what I like to do. The edges, not down on the pad itself, but right at the edge of the pad, right in here and on the other side too. That stuff isn't as crinkly because it hasn't been stepped on as much, and it still has a fair amount of waterproofing to it. And or you can always use the top stuff. The top stuff isn't as waterproof as the bottom, but it sure looks a lot nicer in dubbing. It has a little bit of flotation built into it here. So this comes in a variety of dyed colors. This is a natural here, and I do use this stuff some in my dry fly stuff. It'd be really tempting to use it all the time in your dry fly stuff, but sometimes it just doesn't work out. But I do use it some. So now I guess it's just a matter of making us some really cool dubbing. I'm going to make up some olive. Something olive. Let's make up a sort of a blue olive color, I guess, for bluing olives. We'll make up kind of an olive, medium to dark olive sort of color. That'd be kind of cool to start with, I guess. You can use dubbing on a lot of different dry flies and nymphs, but especially nymphs you use a lot of dubbing on. And most of your mayflies use dubbing on the nymph, and quite often doubling on the dry fly. Use dubbing on scuds, use dubbing on elk hair caddis and other kinds of, like an X caddis for the body. And the buggier the stuff looks, the cooler it looks, not only to you but to the fish. Now when I get done making this dubbing here, I'm going to just without any fanfare, I'm just going to set it out here on the table, and we're going to do a little close-up of it. And it quite often comes out almost like magic. You just really don't expect it to be that cool when you see it come out of there. You kind of expect, oh, it's just going to be your usual, you know, sort of dubbing stuff. But this stuff, when it comes out, when it finally get all done, it looks like magic. And yeah, you're really going to love this. So let's do an olive dubbing. We have to make some decisions here now, of course. I guess probably the thing is, that's probably too dark to use. We're going to use a light olive here. This is just a little bit lighter, but I might use just a touch of the dark olive in it. I think that dark olive is just too dark. So I'm going to move the blender right over here up front where you can watch what I'm doing. And we start with a base color, olive base color. But I wanted to darken it up just a touch, so we're going to just throw in just a tuft of dark in there. Do I want any other kind of base to go into that? I don't think so. I think that's fine. That's cool. So there's our base. That was easy. Now we're looking at some natural. I always throw a little natural in. I don't know why, it just seems like the right thing to do. I'm not a purist by any means, but a purist would say natural is better. So let's just throw in a little bit of this for guard hairs. So I'm going to throw a few guard hairs out of here. Not exactly real dark, but not exactly real light either. Actually, this is a little bit darker than I wanted, but oh well, throw it in there. See if I can get some that's less dark here. I'm taking my scissors and coming down and picking this stuff out, but you know, there's some other cool ways of doing it. You can do it with a razor blade or an X-Acto knife and just get in there and cut right along the hide. That works really well. Also, a pair of mustache trimmers. You can just get in there. If you're going to make a lot of dubbing, just get some mustache trimmers and it's just an electric razor and just go right across there and it'll all just fall off. And it's really, really cool too. But you just make small amounts of dubbing. I'm just using a plain old pair of scissors. Try not to bite off too much of it though, because if you bite off too much, you'll get it stuck. It'll start jamming in here, and you'll actually bend your scissors a little bit. So just take small pieces off at a time. Don't try to get this much. Try to get, you know, about that much at a time. So now we're going to get our olive stuff out here, and we got a choice between maybe putting in. Here's some nice stuff down right about there. We're going to get some nice olive, pure olive color in sort of a medium, small to medium size right there. And I cut that off and just rake it right in there like that. And we'll get a few guard hairs up in here. Those are too small. Let's get some guard hairs out of right here. You can use your scissors to kind of move this stuff around to see what you're getting. And I'm going to take just a little bit of stuff out of right there. More guard hairs. Okay. And then we'll take a little bit different shade of olive. This will kind of brighten it up a little bit. We're going to take some nice stuff out of right here. And try not to get any of these whiskers in there. I mean, yeah, you can pick it out later. It isn't a big deal or anything if you happen to get one in there, but they don't blend up very well. And yes, there are some uses you can find for them as antennae and things like that. Here's a nice little piece right here. Wow, yeah, oh, come on. Yeah. There we go. Got a nice little chunk of stuff there. There's a nice piece there. Wow, that's going to look good. As if you can't tell, making dubbing is fun too. it's artistic, and it makes your fly look extra buggy and extra good. It's just a lot of fun to do. Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of the dubbings you find on the wall just bore me. But that doesn't mean you can't buy the dubbings off the wall and create something that doesn't, something that's real artistic and beautiful. And you'll see how cool this is here in a minute. Now we're going to go through our various colors of ice dubbing here and find something really cool. I think probably something in the medium olive sort of variety. This kind of stuff right here. We'll put a pinch of that in there. I guess we're all set and ready to go, and the thing is, when this comes out, it's either going to be something where you say it needs a little bit more of this, or it needs a little bit more of that, or we put too much of this in, or it's just going to come out like magic. You're going to look at it and go, oh my gosh, that's perfect. That usually happens more than not, that it comes out perfect. And no two batches of dubbing come out exactly the same, and that's kind of cool too. They're all a creation, and they all come out a little bit different. That is a beautiful olive, medium olive dubbing. It's going to look fantastic on a hook. It has a lot of natural stuff in it. Notice that little bit of sparkle that you see there. A little bit of sparkle is just going to get the attention of the fish a little bit, and maybe make this a little more attention getting than the natural that might be right next to it. You know, they notice this, they see that little sparkle, it gets their focus on your fly, and they take your fly instead of the natural one next to it, just because they have that little bit of sparkle in it. It's got some, when you get this on a hook, it's going to look really, really buggy, and the color's cool. And why don't we put this on a hook and see what it looks like here. Okay, now we're going to put this on a hook. And I just have any size, a little bit larger hook here so that you can see this a little bit easier. This isn't something we'd be doing for, say, like a blueing olive, but at least it'll give you an idea what this looks like on a hook. Some folks, including myself, especially when you first start tying, have a real problem with dubbing, and some people spend their whole lives avoiding dubbing just because of that. I started guiding on the Yakima River back in 1983, and back then there were no fly shops anywhere around. Fly tying materials was pretty much even out of herders. It was pretty old. Pretty hard to come up with flies. You couldn't buy commercial flies, and getting materials was very difficult. And so I had to come up, for the first 5 years or so that I was guiding, I had to tie every single fly with whatever materials I could find, which wasn't much. The first 5 years I avoided dubbing because I was just so bad at it. It was just really, really sad. But eventually I found that when I couldn't come up with the right colors for the bugs I was using, I had to create my own colors, and so I started making dubbing, sort of out of self-defense. But once I finally got the hang of dubbing, that now you can't get it out of my hands. It's that good. And so if you're having a little trouble with your dubbing, I'll go through this step by step and show you some easy ways to overcome your fear of dubbing. Otherwise, just hang in here and see how nice this looks on a hook. It's going to look fantastic. Again, it looks just like magic. And it's going to look like magic on the hook here too. So let's get going on this. Now, I don't use dubbing waxes. I don't do dubbing loops or anything like that. I do it the straight old-fashioned way, and as you can see, that's the way it looks absolutely the nicest. The only thing I use out of the ordinary is a little bit of spit on my fingers here and there. So other than that, yeah, I pretty much don't. I just do a straight dubbing method, and you'll see how nicely this comes out. Now, there's no sense in going out over about 4 or 5 inches here, because you wouldn't be able to come around here and not hit things, you know, around here anyway. Plus, by the time you got down into here, your dubbing would have already fallen off. So it's just it's pretty even if you think you need like 6 inches of dubbing to do the hook, don't do 6 inches here. Do 4 and then add 2. That's don't try to do it all at once. I think 4 or 5 inches for most flies will be sufficient. If it isn't, again, do 4 and add 2. Instead of using dubbing wax at this point, I'm going to go ahead and just put just a little bit of spit on the thread, wipe my fingers off so the dubbing doesn't stick to my fingers, take a pinch of dubbing and just put it on the hook. I didn't want to stay. I'm going to put another little bit of spit on my fingers and just help it kind of stay. And all I want to do is get it to stay. We're not trying to get it all wrapped up and around and around and around all of it right off the bat. We just want it to stick there. And notice how I kind of spread it out so when it does stick there, it sticks uniformly instead of having narrow areas and fat areas. So now you can see how it's reasonably even. Now I'm going to lick my fingers and just do a 1, 2, one direction or the other, doesn't matter which direction. Lick my fingers again and do a 1, 2 again. And if I need a third one, do a 1, 2 again. Now we have it pretty much part of our thread, but we need it to be just a little bit more attached than it is. So I'm going to go 1, 2 again. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And now see how it's really nicely attached to the thread. But it's not globbed on, and so still want it to have this nice spacey sort of look here. If you do see a spot that's questionable, you might do one more little thing like that. But don't get carried away, because that's usually the problem that people have. Then we're going to run the thread up right to the beginning of the dubbing up here. Now I like to put my dubbing on fast. I think it goes on way better if it goes on fast. If you try to slowly pick each spot, eventually your dubbing is going to start separating on you, and you're going to have all kinds of problems. I think you put it on before you separate it, and don't let it separate. Get it on really fast. And so as I put it on fast, you have to sort of concentrate on what I'm concentrating on. I'm concentrating exactly where the thread is on the hook. I'm deciding, and then I'm deciding whether it needs 1 wrap, 2 wraps, or 3 wraps over that particular portion of the fly to get the perfect shape of the bug that I want to get. And so I'm concentrating very hard on whether I want 1 wrap, 2 wrap, 3 wraps. And when I think it looks right, then I advance forward, and then I either put 1 wrap, 2 wrap, 3 wraps, then advance forward, and I'm making these decisions quickly. If you can learn to do this, this really looks nice on a hook. So here it goes. I can't slow this down or it won't look as nice. Watch how fast this goes. And don't stop, no matter what, even if it looks like it's all coming apart on you. Don't stop. And look at that. Probably if you watch that really close, it looked like it was disaster right in the middle of it. It looks like it was going to explode on me. It just looked like there was no chance of ever saving the fly. Look, I never gave up on it, and look what happened. If you watch me real close, there were about twice in there where I thought the whole thing was just going to explode on me. I've never had one fail. You just keep working it, and it comes out perfect every time. Now, if there's something you don't like about it, get in there and pick it out. This is the time to pick it out. Now let's see how buggy this thing looks after we kind of pick it out just a little bit. See how nice and buggy that thing looks. Isn't that magic? And that's how you put dubbing on a hook. And don't be afraid of it. Just keep drying it. And don't be afraid if it looks like it's going to blow up right in the middle of of putting the dubbing on. Just keep going. Believe me, it'll all work out. And if there's a part that sticks out a little too much, pinch it out at the end, and then pull it all out and get this beautiful, nice, even body. And you can see how cool all those little sparkles look like in there. And all the hair that's sticking out just makes it look buggy. All that stuff when you're bringing it in through the water or on the surface of the water, all that stuff moves and just makes it look alive to the fish. And that little bit of sparkle to get their attention and get their focus on your fly, and then that little bit of lifelike sort of breathing motion of all those little hairs sticking out and fibers sticking out, it is going to mean the difference between catching a couple of big fish on a day, maybe. So give this a try, making your own dubbing, and I think you won't be disappointed. And you can always stop by the store here. We're more than happy to point out some of the things you might need. We can maybe even sit down and show you something here in the store about making dubbing and putting dubbing on a hook. If you're having a problem with, we'll be more than happy to help you with that. So stop by the store sometime and we'll give you a hand with that. And otherwise, have some fun. This is Tim Irish. I'll be seeing you later. Bye.